back to me.
No problem, Luke. If I understand you correctly, you've got some video footage that might expose some malpractice on the part of a game publisher,
Yes, that's right. Firstly, I have a game of theirs that took control of my PC for a bit, which can't be legal. And then this woman from the company came to my house, and she...
Okay, hold on a second. Let me just get my pen and pad here. Okay. Okay, so you have a game of theirs that took, was it a virus or something?
Oh, nah. It's over.
I told you!
She killed him!
Are you still there, buddy? Hello? Hello?
What's happening?
Still there, buddy?
What the fuck? Is that it? Is that the end? That's it? Great game, everyone. Thank you guys for watching. I had a time on this game. Join the Discord. We'd be oh no. Not right now. Alright. As always, I always do the credits. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you Friday. I'll see you Saturday. I'll see you Sunday. I'm live every single day this January. Every single day. I'm not sure if I want to get the One Piece Odyssey game though. I'm still hankering on it. Nightbot, not right now. I'm still hankering on it. It looks fun though, but I'm not sure if I want to dive into a JRPG at this moment in time, at this juncture. It might just be multiplayer games to the end. Oh, we can speed this up? Yes, let's go. Wrap it up, nigga. Wrap it up. Hurry up, wrap it up. There's not that many people that worked on this dumbass game. Stop the cap, bro. This many people? Cap. Oh, the game just closes. Hello? Why did the game just close? Stream Elements? What happened? Did my internet cut out? Why did the game just close? And why is Stream Elements talking? What happened? What happened to me? I don't know what happened, bro. Am I done? Like, why did the game just close like that? These are new videos. So if I'm done, what is this shit? Previous saves. Oh, really? Well, if you say I'm done, then I'm done, right? If you say I'm done, then I'm done. Let's watch the game theory on this. I'm actually not that interested, but I gotta kill sometime. I can't stream for 30 minutes. Let's see. Let's see. There's 2 videos. I'll watch them both.
You're opening a pack of trading cards. Inside are coordinates to a secret location out in the woods. It's nearby, so you go. You dig and you find a simple white box buried under layers of soil. Inside it is a disc with mysterious words scrawled across the label, INSCRYPTION. What follows is a deadly card game where your life and the fate of the world hang in the balance. The only thing missing is a Gen 1 holographic stoat. It is, by all estimations, the best indie title of 2021. The only thing is, don't play
That shit
it.
indie,
Seriously,
but had a
don't
million
do it.
developers
Do not
on it.
play this game. Confused? Well, to understand why, let's go on a journey. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that also requires a small sacrifice to summon a few minutes of your precious watch time. Today we're talking about the latest game to come out of the insane mind of Daniel Mullins. For those of you who aren't familiar with his work, Daniel was the brilliant game designer behind 2016's absolutely insane Pony Island.
Look at that skill. I did not kill Jesus.
And I've been a huge fan of his work ever since. And now his latest game, INSCRYPTION, is all over the internet, being hailed as one of, if not the best game of 2021. And I've played it. I've enjoyed it. It is fantastic. But I'm also here to tell you that you should not play it, because doing so might just doom the entire world. Sound like an over-the-top exaggeration? Well, allow me to explain. And be warned, there be spoilers ahead. As soon as you boot up the game for the first time, the story begins, but not in the way that you'd expect. We first hear a mysterious voice that says,
Okay, time to figure out what's on this thing.
Then, to make things even weirder, despite having never played it before, the option for new game is grayed out. Our only option is to select continue. So we do that, and we meet a mysterious figure that greets us by saying,
Perhaps you've forgotten how this game is played. Allow me to remind you.
Immediately, this set off theorist alarms in my head. To me, this implies that before we got a hold of the game, someone else had already begun the story, similar to what we saw recently in another game, Andy's Apple Farm. Could there be some secret lore hidden here as we piece together the mysterious backstory of the game and who played it before? I think so. What follows is a roguelike deck-building game where cards require sacrifices to summon, all while this guy takes on the role of Dungeon Master, donning different masks to simulate the various characters that you encounter on your journey. Gotta say, as a theater kid, I appreciate the commitment to the bit. You play progressively more difficult rounds against each other, earning teeth via your card's attacks to add to a scale on the side of the table. Tip the scale far enough to one side and you win. So it's a tabletop game a la Hearthstone, right? What's the big deal here? Well, if you play long enough, there is so much more lurking under the surface. First off, the cards start talking to you, even remembering the times that you sacrificed them in battle, which is certainly off-putting and guilt-inducing, but we also gotta be honest here, if they weren't such useless cards, I wouldn't be sacrificing them as much. Stoat! And you'll be doing a lot of sacrificing because the game eventually gets real hard. In fact, there are times when it seems like the game will do everything in its power to make you fail. When that happens, you get the chance to find a death card in your next playthrough. But while most other cards are based on woodland creatures like rabbits, bats, and a sassy stoat, these death cards feature you, or at least a past iteration of you. Lose the game and the Dungeon Master Leshy uses his camera to immortalize you as a card. If you do manage to win on any given playthrough, you might think that it's suddenly time to turn the tables. This time, you're gonna be the one to pick up that camera, point it at Leshy, push the button to snap the photo, and nothing. Turns out it's not the camera that's magical, but the film that turns people into cards. The solution to this problem lies not in the heart of the cards, but rather in Leshy's cabin. See, the cards are only half the game. The other half involves us exploring the cabin where the game takes place. While you play the card game, you'll discover clues that help you to unlock and obtain special items, including another sentient card, the Stink Bug, and a Stabby Boy. Yep, as it turns out, you can bring a knife to a card fight, but the target for the knife isn't the Dungeon Master, but rather yourself. You can use the knife to pluck out one of your eyeballs, which adds a large amount of weight to the scales. Fortunately, our dungeon master is all about the joy of the game, and as losing an eye will diminish this joy, he actually offers you a spare from his eyeball box, which is a thing that he has just laying around. However, one of these eyes is not like the other, and upon plucking it into your head, you suddenly start to see things that you couldn't before. Messages and clues written in invisible ink which show us exactly how to open the various locks hidden throughout the cabin. This leads us to a roll of film and a third talking card, the one-eyed stunted wolf. Wonder what happened to his other. Oh, I get it. What's interesting is that these talking cards aren't exactly friendly to each other, let alone with our dungeon master. Not only that, but they change appearances throughout the game. The stoat starts to look less like a woodland weasel and more like a creature with a mechanical head, and the card that begins as a stink bug starts to take on the appearance of an old woman. It's certainly strange, but we don't have a lot of time to think about it because with our film in hand, it's time to duel. We sit down at Leshy's table one final time, proceed to the end of his board and beat him. But as we deliver the final blow, we hear a familiar voice.
Oh my, I think I just beat him.
It's the same voice from the beginning of the game. Suddenly we're ripped out of the gameplay.
Okay. So far I know of all this. So far
we aren't
I'm
actually
caught up.
playing the game, but rather we're playing as someone playing the game. This mystery voice. Man, you gotta love that about indie games. If it isn't 3 layers of meta within the first couple hours of your gameplay, are you truly playing an indie game? That voice belongs to a guy named Luke Carter, a humble card game aficionado and aspiring YouTuber. Because of course, he wants to be a YouTuber.
Hey there, card gamers. I'm the Lucky Carter, and this is a vintage pack opening video. I've got 4 packs of Inscription.
Next thing you know, he's gonna try to start a podcast and box against Floyd Mayweather. But what our little Logan Paul wannabe has in his hands is no ordinary pack of cards. Inside one of them is something unusual, a set of coordinates.
49 degrees north, 123 degrees west.
And like a true theorist, Luke goes and visits the coordinates on the map where he finds an old floppy disk with a simple handwritten label, Ben Drown. Sorry, wrong creepypasta. It's actually labeled Inscription.
That's the name of the movie.
Game, actually, but you're close. Anyway, in the words of another game franchise, some things are best left forgotten for now. Luke probably should have left that disc buried though, because by digging it up, he starts to attract the unwanted attention of Game Funa, the game's creators. In fact, representatives start visiting his house.
Floppy disk for a game called Inscription. I was told you came by a copy of it somehow.
Listen, how'd you know where I live, exactly? And how did you get past the side gate? It's locked.
Like any good YouTuber, Luke films it all, except the video and audio periodically glitch, leaving the subtitles alone to reveal the truth. That's binary for Amanda, in case you were wondering. And what's Amanda looking for? Well, that's hidden in another glitch.
Did anyone ever play an Inscription video game?
See that? More binary. Translating it gets me the Karnoffel code, which, after a quick Google search, is just some old German card game. Now, it would be an odd Easter egg on its own, but the game actually tells us more. Or, I suppose I should say the game within the game. See, if you jump back into Inscription after defeating the Dungeon Master, you grab the camera and use the magical film that you found earlier to turn him into a card. This suddenly unlocks the New Game button that was missing from the opening menu. Now, we can finally start this thing from the beginning. The real beginning. And you see, this is where things start to get real trippy because this new game is literally exactly that. A new game in a completely different graphical style. Immediately, we're told about 4 characters known as the Scribes, who have different ways of creating cards. There's the old woman Grimora, who uses her quill to inscribe the epitaphs of the dead, P03, a robot who uses a particle scanner to create cards, as well as Magnificus, who used his brush to paint his wizard pupils. And if all 3 of these look familiar, well, that's because they were our 3 talking cards. The Stink Bug, the Stoat, and the Stunted Wolf from earlier on in the playthrough. How did this happen? Well, it's all thanks to the 4th scribe, Leshy, who uses his camera to capture the others just like he would use it on us at the end of each game that we lose. And just like Game Funa out in the real world, the characters in the game are also looking for something. Leshy has the Angler plumbing the depths for some long-forgotten relic. P03 has the Dredger digging through the archives, trying to find something equally ancient, something named the Old Data. We learn from this guy late in the game about this mysterious data and how it carries with it the Karnoffel code. There's that phrase again, which is apparently something like a virus, one that was responsible for giving these 4 scribes their sentience. That's right, the characters in the game are alive, or at least they wanna be. When Leshy is finally defeated by the player, P03 remarks that, quote, "We would have been even sooner if the disc wasn't lost." So not only is P03 aware that he's a character in a game, but he's aware that the disc that they were on was lost out in the woods. Quote again, "Dearest Grimora, I believe P03's plot may go far past the extent of a common one power grab. Indeed, this great transcendence will have
You finished
catastrophic
doodling? It's been
and
posted.
unpredictable results.
Okay, I'll check it out right after this stream.
You say there, Magnificus? A video game character trying to break out into real life? What? You don't say. Anyway, by the end of the game, P03's great transcendence is thwarted and the game Inscryption gets deleted off the disc. Eventually, all that remains is you and the old data, with an NPC casually dropping the recommendation that you do not access it. So, you know, of course I'm gonna access it. Old data begins unzipping, flooding the screen with redacted images. Whatever it is, it's enough to terrify Luke into ripping the disc from his drive and smashing it with a hammer. Speaking of Luke, he calls a journalist, hoping to expose the truth about Game Funa and the terrible secrets that he just uncovered, but he's interrupted by the arrival of Amanda, who ensures that Luke is taken out before telling the rest of his story, and before reminding us to like, comment, and subscribe. So that's the base story, but there's still a lot of missing pieces here. What is the old data, and how did it get onto this disc? Well, what exactly the old data is still a bit unclear, but it was clearly powerful stuff. Powerful enough to grant sentience to game entities and bring oblivion to the rest of the world. We know, based on the game's ending, that it can't be deleted. We also know it's something incriminating enough that Game Funa were willing to kill in order to get it back. And all of it is tied to a girl named Casey. You see, in Act 3 of the game, we meet a figure that offers us a rare card. One named Casey, who we're told is the creator of Inscryption. According to the in-game dialogue, she also learned a lot about the old data. This moment alone was enough to get my theorist senses a-tingling, but we actually hear mention of her 2 other times in the game, as a death card in Part 1, as well as a person who got hit by ice in Part 2's Bone Game. Luke also stumbles across her name during his investigation of the disc.
Listen, I was at your garage sale the other day, and they were your daughters? Would it be possible for me to speak with her? Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Her name was Casey? That's a lovely name. Sorry, what? She worked for Inscryption?
And just like that, the puzzle pieces start to come together. This character, Casey, is the one who buried the game out in the woods, but something seems to have happened to her.
She died for injury. Oh my god. Game developer Casey Hobbs died from fire-related complications.
She died in a fire, which, in a dark twist, ties directly to something that we see in the game. In Part 3, a bot named Casey offers to clear up some ice that blocks a road using fire. P03 thinks that this is funny, proving just how dark and twisted this sadistic stoat robot actually is. So, based on everything that we learn about Casey, it seems like all of her actions were meant to keep the old data locked away and hidden. Because remember, it can't be deleted.
My ass was
not
not
even
paying
when you have
attention.
full
What the
file
fuck
control.
is this?
First, she buried the old data under the game Inscryption in order to hide it away, with the game acting as a sort of seal. Then she buried the physical disc out in the woods. But not only that, she found a way to soft lock Inscryption so that the scribes wouldn't be able to break the seal on the old data. We know that the scribes are engaged in a perpetual turf war, constantly vying against each other for power. So when you think about it, putting Leshy in charge was actually the smartest thing that Casey could have done. We know firsthand that just leaving the disc in a new game state would be unstable. One of the scribes would be able to make a grab for power eventually. If Grimora got control, she might use it to free herself from the pain of existence by erasing Inscryption, just like we see her do during the game's ending. So she can't be trusted. P03 actually presents the opposite problem. He wants to share Inscryption with the world, which is not the kind of entity you want in charge when your goal is to bury a secret in the woods and hide it. But Leshy just wants to play card games. As we saw at the start of the game, he's more than happy to exist in a perpetual loop, forever sitting in his log cabin playing tabletop cards with anyone who will drop by. In short, Leshy is the perfect soft lock, which leads us to another disturbing conclusion here. Inscryption is a game where the only winning move is not playing it. By playing the game, by beating Leshy and starting a new game, Luke, and by proxy us as the player, have allowed the old data to escape. We broke the soft lock. We shattered Casey's carefully crafted seal. During the game's ending, when Inscryption gets deleted, the old data is able to be unleashed, and that is our doing. Like I said at the beginning, by playing the game, we lose. We were always meant to lose. But that still leaves us with a lot of unanswered questions. Now that the old data's been unleashed, what exactly happens? When and where did the old data come from? And who is the mysterious blue man that's behind it all? In the brief flashes that we get as the old data gets unleashed, we see a non-combatant's certificate from the US Department of Defense for someone named Barry Reginald Wilkinson, as well as a brief text exchange that mentions that he smuggled the disc out mixed in with a bunch of other blank discs. But those questions and more will have to come in a future episode episode because this one goes way beyond the world of just Inscryption. Just when you thought that you were done with the game, there's an entire metagame that exists around it, explaining its deepest and most interesting mysteries. I told you this one had a ton of layers, so next time watch as we cover the real-world scavenger hunt that led to real people, not actors, but real gamers, hunting down an actual floppy disk that was buried out in the woods labeled Inscryption. So hit that subscribe button to get notified when that episode goes live, because this is one story that's only just
Like, what the fuck going on here, bro?
In the meantime, I've actually gotten kind of hungry, and as
What the
appetizing
fuck
as
going on
Luscious
here?
Cake looks,
There's an actual... Alright.
finally, after many battles,
I got
you
49
defeated the
seconds.
game within a
I got
game
49
within a game.
seconds
Your reward,
before
a mysterious file called Old Data.
my
but
laundry gets out of the...
something
I'll be
feels
right back then. I'll be right back. I got 49 seconds. Let's watch something else in the meantime, because I want to watch the rest of that theory. Let's watch this guy.
I'm a huge
11
fan of
minutes with,
internet weirdos that
this guy.
post content online. I get really excited when I find a new entertaining goofball. And over the years, I've kind of made this collection in my little noodle up here, like a little mental museum of my favorite internet oddities. And I'll sometimes just get the urge to see how they're doing. So I'll go to their content, put their sack in my hand, and tell them to cough to give them a checkup, just to see what's going on and have a little laugh. And recently, I was made aware of one of the most bafflingly delusional content creators I've seen in quite some time, which is a TikTok psychic named Ashley. I made a video on her going over her whole situation. I'll break it down just in case you don't know who this is. Ashley is a self-proclaimed clairvoyant psychic who tries to solve real-world mysteries. She uses less reasoning than Scooby-Doo does in the cartoon. Like, she doesn't even bother actually investigating. She just makes up fan fiction that she pulls out of her ass and then tries to portray it as the truth. So she recently made like 100-something TikTok videos accusing a woman named Rebecca Schofield of being the person responsible for the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. This is a complete baseless claim. She used tarot card readings as well as her own patented method of tapping into the universal consciousness, surfing the cosmic vibes of astrology or whatever, and accusing Rebecca Schofield relentlessly of being the murderer. She's now being sued for this because, as it turns out, Rebecca Schofield is completely innocent. It seems Ashley is going to need to spend a little more time mastering the avatar state to get the proper information, because here's the main suspect, Brian Koberger. Now, even if it somehow turns out by a crazy plot twist it's not Brian, even though there is a ton of fucking evidence behind it being him, it is still 100% not Rebecca Schofield, as Ashley has claimed hundreds of times now. Now, you would assume that a rational person, after being sued for defamation for accusing an innocent woman of being a murderer, and the most likely real murderer being arrested, you'd think that she'd then be like, yep, looks like I was wrong. This is a big boo-boo from me here. Sorry about all that. The natural next step would be apologizing and trying to move on from it, backpedaling like, looks like I made a mistake. The spirit realm was, the Wi-Fi signals were blocking it and I didn't have my shungite around me. But in the case of Ashley, you'd be wrong, because she commits even further to the delusion, and even after the threat of being slapped around legally, she is still maintaining that she's correct and everyone else is wrong. I'd like to show you some of these TikToks, and I already did talk about some of these in the last video I made, but I actually want to bring this out to a bigger topic. And that's people's inability to accept responsibility even when faced with the absolute truth. People are so afraid of being wrong that they will just do the most unrealistic mental gymnastics that you couldn't even write in a fucking cartoon in order to justify how they're still correct and they're not wrong. I've seen this all over Twitter. When someone gets dunked on Twitter, like they get provably dunked on with facts, logic, evidence, they still will discredit it or come up with some reason.
Opening it unleashes a flood of top-secret files and redacted documents, but what does it mean? Clearly, whatever was hidden here was not meant to be seen. In the brief flashes we get, we see that it's led to war, espionage. It's tied to massive government conspiracies. What began as just a game suddenly transcends beyond. Suddenly, the game becomes real. Should we accept this challenge? Should we
The best
try
cat you've
to
seen
solve
right
the
now?
mystery? Probably not.
Watch out, bro. The best cat you've
Curiosity
seen
gets the better
ever.
of us. and the clues are there. Inscryption, this game within a game, has one more challenge in store for us. So let me explain to you all the game that you didn't know was there. The game that goes beyond mere digital cards and cabins. Today we reveal the deepest secret hidden in Inscryption. That way, when they come for me, others will know the truth. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that feels like a Yu-Gi-Oh fan stuck inside of a creepypasta, cause today we're continuing down the rabbit hole that is Inscryption, the roguelike card game that begins as Funny Animal Goes Brrr and ends with homicidal game devs on your doorstep. I suppose you could say that this game is more than meets the eye. Get it? Cause you have to shove a knife into your own eye in order to win. If you don't get that, well, chances are you haven't watched our previous theory, so to kick things off today, you should probably make a blood sacrifice over on the subscribe button so you don't miss anything in the future, and then go and watch our previous video recapping the main story of the game that is linked right To briefly summarize what you need to know, Inscryption begins like a typical card game but slowly reveals itself to be a video captured by aspiring YouTuber Luke Carter. While opening a pack of retro cards, he discovers coordinates that lead him to a game disc buried out in the woods, Inscryption, left there by one of the game's creators, Casey Hobbs, a woman who is now dead from a tragic fire. Luke's videos start to uncover conspiracy around something hidden on the disc, a mysterious file titled Old Data. By looking closely at details from the game, we learn that Inscryption was made to seal away the old data because unleashing it would be too dangerous for the world. And it does appear to have powerful abilities. One piece of the old data, something called the Carnoffel Code, is able to grant sentience to the game's main characters, the scribes. But how? What exactly is this ancient power and where does it come from? Luke starts to get close to the answers, but his ARG is unfortunately cut short by the game's developer, Gamefuna, who neither liked nor commented, but instead subscribed Luke to a date with the business end of a gun. And that's it. That's the game in a nutshell. Every story beat followed and deciphered, with more cliffhanger questions left for Daniel Mullins' next game to explore, I suppose. But what if I told you that wasn't the end of the game? That in this 3-act game, there's actually an Act 4? What if I told you that his next game was right in front of us all along? That's right. The entire game of Inscryption is itself a cover for a much bigger game that Daniel Mullins has crafted for us. One that leads, no joke, to a real disc hidden out in the woods for us gamers to dig up. So grab your shovels, friends, it's time to dig, both literally and figuratively, into the real game that's hidden inside of Inscryption. The first major act of Inscryption ends with you finding a new game icon, which allows you to, go figure, begin a new game. Only this time it's in a completely different art style from everything up to that point. When you start this new game though, the keen-eyed among you may have noticed that what we get looks like an old Windows command line, and this prompt can actually become responsive if you hit Control-C while it's on screen. By using some basic coding language, which you can figure out by using
What's up, NMK? This
boomer,
is some lore on Inscryption.
Specifically the one at the heart of the
So stay
mystery,
tuned.
Old Data. There, we find a log.txt file, but when attempting to decode it, the command line prompts us for a cipher. After throwing Valorant characters, that guy from The Matrix, and famous Twitch streamers at it, I got nowhere, so it's back to the game for some clues. Specifically back to the guy who's been doing a lot of the legwork for us, Luke Carter. Last time when we talked about Luke's story, we were mainly focused on the videos that moved the plot forward, but there are a few others that have been broken or corrupted. These error videos are a bit of a mess, but you know that they have to be here for some reason, right? And indeed they are. If you freeze frame that, zoom in and enhance, it looks like Luke was onto something by covering everything with post-it notes. Kinda reminds me of my office every time a new FNAF game comes out. But here we see a close-up of one of the post-it notes, which says, Mycologist 12, perhaps blood letter box. Could this possibly be the cipher that we need? Going back to the command prompt, we try it and, that is a big ol' nope. However, it is a clue that'll help us find the ciphers that we need. So we start with the first section, Mycologist 12. The Mycologist is actually one of the bosses from the main game. During that fight, we encounter a card that has this really odd name, just a random assortment of numbers, but loyal theorists will know that nothing in an ARG is ever truly random. These numbers are the first part of our cipher, but how many of them do we use? Well, it's right there in the clue, 12. The second clue, perhaps, is a lot trickier to find. In fact, it's such a generic word that you could probably link it to anything within the game itself, but that's where it gets you, because it's not actually in this game. It's really a reference to Pony Island, a previous Daniel Mullins game. In it, there was a mysterious soundbite that, when reversed, sounded like the words, a beeper perhaps.
Let me direct opposite.
Can that one word really be the thing that's connecting these two games? Yep, it is. If you watch the credits
Sometimes
of
they make this shit a
closely,
little
halt
too
for any monumental
fucking
task, the
deep.
game credits someone
Like,
for the
no one,
design
how
of
the fuck would
Beeper.
anyone
Now, to be
ever
fair, I don't know much
be able
about
to
game development, but
determine this
Beeper
and
is a
figure
real
this shit
job
out?
there.
This
That's
doesn't even
someone
make any
named
fucking
Louis
sense.
Nathis,
Like, what the fuck
which
are we
is
talking
weirdly
about?
similar to the name of a
Perhaps.
character from another Daniel Mullins title, Hex, Lou Natis, a man who, if you play that game, is revealed to be the CEO of Game Funa, the same company that killed off Luke in Inscryption. Yep, it appears that we are fully immersed in the Daniel Mullins connected universe. If we look at the credit for Louis Nathis, we see what appears to be an asset link, but that URL doesn't lead to
This
anywhere.
bullshit
It
is
does,
why
however,
people think this
provide us
game
with
is
the
so
next
good,
part of our
because
cipher.
it's so
After the word
deep,
beeper, where perhaps
so
would be in the
connected,
phrase, we find
so stupid.
8339-344 question mark.
So convoluted, so
That's
pretentious.
solution
It's
number
so
2.
dumb.
Now for the third
This
and
is so
final
fucking
clue,
stupid.
blood letterbox.
What the fuck is this dumb shit,
Here,
bro?
things
Fortnite
have
has
been
better
a
lore than this
roadblock.
dumb
You
shit.
See, in the weeks after the game's release, the Daniel Mullins Games Discord was leading the charge and ripping through all these secrets, with Jack0_07272 consolidating it all down into a single running document. But at this point, even dedicated members of the community weren't really able to follow the clue. Instead, they had to brute force their way to find a solution. The best train of thought that I could muster up for this one is that in Act 1, there's the Bone Lord pedestal, and it requires a blood sacrifice. So we then have to interact with the Bone Lord in Act 2 and Act 3 as well. Anyway, during that Act 3 encounter, a hint becomes visible.
What the fuck is the Bone Lord? I didn't see this guy. Did you guys see this guy? Who the fuck is this dude? I never came across him. When the fuck did this happen? Hello? I think I skipped this part. W.
Anyway, during that Act 3 encounter, a hint becomes visible if and only if you set your screen to a letterbox format. Bone Lord.
What the fuck is this?
Or at least I think that's what it's supposed to say in lead speak. I'm not the most proficient hacksaw. Anyway, that provides us our third and final code for the cipher. So going back to
What the
command
fuck is
prompt,
happening,
we
bro?
tried to
This
code
is so
old data.
stupid.
We asked for a cipher. We put in our 3 pieces of code and nothing. Well, almost nothing. We get part of a chat log from a person, C, who appears to be talking about a smuggled disc, but that's about it. Clearly, there are parts of this conversation missing, and as we can plainly see, there are parts of the chat that are glitched or encoded in some way. So it looks like we're back to the solving board, friends. The first, SE167BP True, requires us to know some basic game design principles, so a huge shout out to the Daniel Mullins subreddit for this one. Basically, SE in gaming code typically stands for story events. It's how the game keeps track of progress within the save file. And fun fact, save files can be manipulated without playing, so by opening that file up in a text editor like Notepad, we can add 167 to our story events chain. The BP is definitely the more obscure one here. This one is shorthand for another variable within the save file, Bone Lord Puzzle Active. Basically a variable that keeps track of whether this skull's eyes in the cabin are glowing or not. Our hint ends with BP true, so let's set Bone Lord Puzzle Active to true. Now we load the game and immediately get a glitchy screen where the Bone Lord skull pops up, and for a brief second we see the on-screen text.
What the fuck is happening? Yeah, I did beat the game.
23K2 floor is simultaneously really easy and also really complicated.
This is so
Instead of having
stupid.
to alter game files, this one actually just has us going back to Luke's videos. In the video labeled October 16th, we see that Luke
That's
has
my
4
birthday,
post-it
October
notes
16th.
under his monitor. Pig
Shout out Inscription.
3K Pig, which kind of matches that 23K2 hints. And looking at what's actually being displayed on Luke's monitor during this moment, we see that he's on the real-life Wikipedia page for the card game Karnoffel, a German game. So how do these things connect? Well, you know how people sometimes refer to the number 2 as a deuce in the context of like a dice or card game? Well, that's actually a German thing, where the 2 card is often depicted as having a hog or sow on it. That's why Luke's post-its replace the 2s with pig faces. And wouldn't you know it, but deuce, or Daus in German, is also the name of a rare creature card in Inscryption, a pig with a bell. So if the pig
What the
is a card
fucking
reference,
dumb shit is
the other ones be as well.
No
What about
way.
The 3 and the K?
This
Well,
is
3
not-
would probably
this
be
is not
Mantis God.
interesting
It's
at
the only
all.
card that we find in Act 1 with that triple strike ability. And K, well, this is a card game, so could it be possibly referring to a king? Say the Rat King, maybe. By creating a deck with these cards and playing them all in this order during a card game against Leshy, suddenly the card names change, each to a different letter, S-T-O-P. Stop. Oh, Leshy, we've come this far. You know that telling a theorist to stop is like telling a train to stop. You can try, but it's just gonna mow you down on its way to the answers. But that's just the 2-3K2 stuff. Still leaves us with the second half of the code, floor. Since the first part of it was found in the game, it would make sense that it's referring to something else in the game, like the various floor textures that are found throughout. So we just need to head on over to Leshy's cabin, look down, and yeah, you can't do that. In the game, there is no looking up or down. Fortunately, YouTuber Flemonade figured this out and did an entire video where he opened up the game's asset files to find hidden numbers in various floor assets. By assembling all of them together, we get 27341, which is now added to our new cipher. Now on to the third and final clue, which is the second time that I've said that in this video. Maybe this time it'll be true?
What the
Anyway, archive new game.
This
We know
doesn't
that
make
there's a lost
sense.
character in the game called the Archivist.
This
so
is
maybe
too
he's
much.
the one who's gonna help us solve it. As soon as our encounter with him begins, we
And
hear
it's
a
not
bunch
good
of
lore,
boots
it's
and
dumb,
boots.
stupid shit. It's bullshit. What are
Yep,
we
that
like?
is
What are we
definitely one that
watching?
We're more than familiar
Like,
with
what
doing
is this
on our
dumb
own.
shit that we're
That's
watching right
Morse
now?
code.
Who cares about
Transcribing
any of
all
this?
and
What does
translating
this
it
even
gives
do
us
for
a
any of
big
us?
ear. That's not the only Morse code that we can find in the game either. The next part, new game, is referring specifically to the new game card. In Act 3, it's actually sealed inside of a case, but we can still see that it's glowing, pulsating, flickering, in a pattern that resembles Morse code. Transcribing those flashes actually gives us the word no chance. So once again,
Stop
armed with
the
3 parts of the cipher
fucking
key that we got
cap.
from these new clues, we go back to the command line and try to use these keys to decode log.txt. And boom, we've got ourselves text in Polish. Luckily, my family does speak a little bit of Polish, and it is useless in this context. Yeah, my mom taught me the phrase for if the old lady isn't peeing, she's pooping when I was a kid. Yep, that is the extent of my family's knowledge of Polish, so time to hit the forums, friends. Thanks to bilingual Daniel Mullins community members, we have an English translation, giving us another part of our chat log, Character B, which reveals a conversation between two co-workers at Game Funa. Character B, or Mr. Kaminsky, is not particularly happy about working on this particular assignment. You know, if the amount of F-bombs that he drops were in a dead giveaway. Mr. Kaminsky makes this whole old data stuff feel way bigger than just a company secret, referring to things like the fate of the world and kissing the boots of the Russians, which sounds like some sort of Cold War era propaganda. On top of that, we also have Character C mentioning the name Barry Wilkinson, which, if you'll recall, is the name on the ID card that flashes up briefly when you open up the redacted files.
No, I
with the
don't
old
fucking
data
recall,
at the end
okay?
of the
No, I don't
game. But
fucking
who he
recall. What the
and what he
fuck
has
is
to do with
this?
the old data, it's still not clear. He went to prison and got back to the US eventually, but still feels like we're missing something. In fact, we're missing a third person from the chat, Person A. I mean, after all, it would be kind of strange to start a conversation with Person B, but of course, when I was scratching my head trying to figure this one out, I noticed another set of clues within the text, setting us up for yet another 3-part search, which hopefully will give us the context that we are so desperately lacking. And it's here, at this point in the script, looking back at like 7 different puzzles that we've solved already, that I wonder, should I go on? Do you want me to go on? Are you guys actually interested in all this puzzle solving? Because to me, I am.
These are not
I think
puzzles
these puzzles
to
are
be
a lot of
solved.
fun. This
This
isn't
is
just
dumb
your typical
shit to
swap
be-
letters out
to be
for other letters
thrown
code
into the
or turn up
garbage.
the brightness of an image thing. This stuff is hidden deep, using everything that it can to hide our answers, like game code, save files, assets, unique scenarios within the game. It is wild how involved this thing is. And I gotta admit, I've already started looking into this third batch.
This
and
doesn't
it's
make
probably the
sense.
most fun
Why don't you
batch
just
of
put
all.
some shit
Digging
in the
deep
game?
Daniel
Why do
Mullins'
you have to
other
use like
video games
fucking
to find codes
Photoshop
that have been hiding in a way
and
for
hacking
years?
tools
But for the sake of
to go into the
time,
game
and obviously
asset?
for the sake of the
Like,
editors
this-
to get this
what the
video
fuck are we
out, I need
watching?
to
What is
stop
this?
it
How
here.
long is this
So,
shit?
I gotta hear
It's
from you
done?
guys.
Oh my god, thank god. Is that the last one? Oh no, one more. One more.
You've been traveling down this path for some time now. To get to this point, you've had to overcome 7 unique challenges, but now it's time to move forward by looking back. Rewinding through all the puzzles you've faced thus far, going back beyond what you even thought
I'm
was
getting
the
mad.
beginning, even
I'm already
past
mad.
where you started.
I'm
You're
getting
confused,
angrier, though.
But you press onward, not because you want to, but because you need to. You must
I'm getting actually
uncover the
upset. This is
secrets
stupid
of
as
the
fuck.
old data. Game developers, spies, even one of the most
I
dangerous
want the
men in
base
history have
lore.
all
What the
died
fuck are we
because of
going
its
to assets
contents.
for? What the
Hopefully
fuck are we
your
doing Morse
fate is
code
different
and
from
fucking
theirs.
going on Wikipedia and shit? What's the story of the game?
Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory, where today we finish our fishing expedition through the hidden codes of Inscryption.
Why are we
Last time
going through
began to
source
unravel
code
the
in a
mystery
video
of
game?
The old data file, the glitchy zip file that appears in the final moments of the game. A file so awful that our player character Luke Carter smashes the game disc over it. A file so valuable that the game devs Game Funa are willing to kill Luke to get it back. A file so
This is
powerful
Buddha
that it was able to turn the game's 4 screen tribes into sentient, self-aware beings. But what is it? Well, the game never
Relax.
really says.
I'll boot up Hades after this.
You see,
I need to see this through, okay? I need to see this through
that we can
before
interact with. However, in trying to use this to access old data, we're asked for a series of ciphers, passcodes, with each layer more cryptic and difficult to solve than the last. And so last time, our ARG puzzle-solving quest began by digging around through various game events and watching 11 minutes of credits to find a single Easter egg. We got
11 minutes of credits for one person's name?
turns out that
Nah. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna be on Hades tomorrow. I don't want to play Hades right now. I feel like I'm gonna get fucking mad. I'm out of here. Thank you for guys, as always. I'll be back tomorrow with Hades.